Welcome everyone to another episode of Follow the Light Music Review. My name is John DeLaurentis, and this is episode 7 in my album review series. And today we're going to be looking at an album that came out, of course, this year, and it is an absolute scorcher of a hard rock album. And we're going to be talking about the new Bride album, Vipers and Shadows. But before we do that, I would like to encourage you to please subscribe to my channel, like the video, leave some comments below about what you think about this album or Bride in general. And I would love for you also to ring the bell so you can get notified for new content that is added to the channel. All these things help grow my channel, and I really appreciate your support. All right, so let's get into the album review of this sprawling new double CD album release by hard rock, heavy metal pioneers Bride. So it's hard to believe that Bride, one of the forerunners of Christian music in the 1980s and one of the most influential, is still going strong after over 40 years since they formed in 1983. The band has stayed active throughout all these years except for a brief 5-year break between 2013's Incorruptible, that album, and 2018's Snake Eyes. All right, so that was the only break in there. And I think there was maybe an announcement in 2013 that they were ending the band. But fortunately, that did not last long. 5 years later, we got the excellent Snake Eyes album that came out. So now in 2025, the band has released their 18th studio album, Vipers and Shadows. And this, like I said, is a sprawling double CD with 20 new songs. And they also released Lost Reels 4, which was an additional 10 songs, or is an additional 10 songs. So 30 new Bride songs. I'm not going to be talking about the Lost Reels 4 release in this video. We're just going to focus on the main album, Vipers and Shadows. So with this double album, one might be tempted to say that 20 songs, double album, there must be some filler among all of those songs. But in all honesty, this is an excellent album all the way through. Dale still sounds strong as a vocalist. Troy is still kicking it on the guitar. He also plays violin on here, cello on here, piano on here, keys, sitar, and mandolin. And the rhythm section of Nanel Lucena on bass. And not only is he on bass, but he's also the one who engineered, mixed, and mastered this album. And Alexandre Poisson on drums. And there's also a guest musician, Juan Carlos, playing keyboards on one song called Rescue Me. So we'll talk a little bit about that song later on. But yes, let's look at this album before we get into a song by song. So this was an independent release from the band Bride, came out on Father of the Bride Music. And it's just, it's a basic package here. You have the double CDs in here. And you see how each disc is labeled for the title. So the first disc here is Vipers, and the second disc here is Shadows. 10 songs on each disc. And you have a nice picture of Dale and Troy in the back and some credits there. Okay, and we're going to talk about a little bit at the very end. There is a vinyl record version coming out soon. So I'll mention that a little bit later toward the end of the video. But let's look over this album. So like I said, 20 new songs from Bride. So this is a band still releasing great music all these years later and still sounding great, just like they did in their heyday in the 1980s. So let's look over this, or let's discuss the songs on this particular album, and we're going to go disc 1, then disc 2. So disc 1 is the disc that's labeled as Vipers. So it opens up with a song called Million Miles, And it opens up with some kind of sound effects in the track before it charges in with this pulsating pedal to the floor riff with a rhythm section that's providing a strong bottom to it. Dale is singing in his classic vocal histrionics as he sings, "It would be a crime after all of this time if someone else was writing my lines." Kind of like an opening salvo for Dale to say, you know, he's still active, he's still creative, he's still writing his lines, he's still creating. And the song features also a fiery guitar solo and breaks out into a funkier groove around the 3-minute mark. Great opening track. Then it moves on to "Anytime I Call on You." And this opens up with this kind of circus road show type musical intro. The song soon blasts into this groove-laden bluesy riff. And when the pre-chorus hits, it gets fast and furious and adds in Dale's trademark vocal screams in here. Then the chorus brings it back to the groove as Dale sings, "Anytime I call on you, you see me through." Troy delivers a very melodic guitar solo on this one that serves kind of as a bridge back into the lyrics, and the drums are killer on this one here. So this is one of those songs you're gonna have the you know, I'm talking about the song and I can hear it in my head playing. It's got a very memorable chorus in there. Next is a song called "Take It Out on Me." This is another crunchy rocker. It opens up with Dale singing the title chorus. This leads into a riffing kind of circular guitar sound during the verses. And around the 2-minute mark, the song winds down to feature this smoking bass solo riff. And the bass serves as a really strong musical background to this one. And it has this kind of breakdown bass type riff that's going on around the 3-minute mark. And Dale sings the title chorus over it. You know, this is a song that's totally drenched in rhythm and riffing here. "Fall to Pieces" is the next song. This is another grooving hard rocker that starts off with an infectious riff. Then as Dale sings the verses, you have a nice crescendoing guitar line. The chorus is one that's going to stick in your head after listening to it. The song also has this funky, almost disco inflected breakdown right around the 2-minute mark. Great lyric lines. "Give up your will, you'll be carried along. Pure confession is the sweetest song." So we see Dale is being very creative in the lyrics here. He's not lost none of that creativity in writing lyrics here and expressing things in a very artistic way here. Next song is a song called "Beginning of Sorrow." That is the correct name. There is an error on the disc. I think it says "Beginning of Sorry," but it's "Beginning of Sorrow." And the lyrics, by the way, to these songs are on the band's website, which I'll put in the link down below the official website here. But I'm going to talk more about that toward the end when we talk about the vinyl release coming out. So "Beginning of Sorrow" opens with a rollicking riff as Dale repeats the title of the song in between the lyrics. And it starts out with this "Children of the Wilderness" before there's a pause with Troy plucking out an exotic kind of vibe before Dale charges into the verse singing. And again, around the 2-minute mark into the song, we hear Troy offering this bluesy kind of spare notes soloing with a funky bass playing behind it. Some more great lyrics here. "The terror of a great white throne, and in the end, we shall all agree Jesus is our reality, normality." You know, again, what's great about this album, you have those hard rock, those metal riffs in here, but there's this groove. You know, the rhythm section on here with the bass and the drums is so strong, and it gives that kind of a groove type thing that goes on in the song too, that just adds this other dimension to it, with adding to it, but also keeping the riffing hard and just the delivery in a hard rock way, but with those kind of funky elements here. So really, really, really great. Next song is "No Better Time." This is a fast-paced rocker with a pulsating bass and pounding drums and some sledgehammer riffing on this one. This song has Dale stretching out his vocals to high velocity as he sings about the use of rock and roll to deliver a power-packed message. The song also has some nice guitar solos by Troy mixed into it. Then we move into a song called "Black Kiss." This song kind of slows things down a little bit to offer kind of a power ballad that Could be a hit single off the album as it builds up into some nice strum guitar chords. It builds up to this nice, strong and catchy chorus. Dale reminds me a bit of the singing of Alice Cooper on this one. Listen to it, see what you think. But I was reminded of Alice Cooper with kind of the vocal arrangement here on this song. And I have to admit, this was not a song at first listen that I was fond of. But it has grown on me, and I know, and I think that this is another really strong piece of musical fervor that's added in here. It's one of those ones that's a grower. So if you don't like it at first, listen to it over and over again like I did. Troy, again, nice guitar solo. It follows the melody of the song. There's some more strong lyrics here. The sons of God patiently wait. Everlasting love dictates, and that day will be so bright. Stand before the Lord of Lights. This is followed by a song called Wrath. This is another great riff that opens as he sings the chorus. So, a few of these songs open up right with the chorus at the very beginning. And it's another one that you're going to find running through your head after you listen to it over and over again. Troy has some nice kind of wah-wah guitar on this one during the lyrics. And there's some spacey guitar soloing here. And also kind of a little bit of a bluesy flavor here as well. Then the song It's a Living Hell follows next. This is a snappy riffing that continues with this rocker that also opens with the chorus again. During the verses, there's another funky groove that keeps the song as a toe-tapping highlight. That's Troy and Dale's name together. Dale is almost rap singing some of the lyrics on here. And so some more nice guitar solo fills are featured by Troy here. And the bass, again, is killer on here. Now, the ending song on the Vipers' first disc is a song called In What Life? So you may see it rendered as In One Life, which was the song's working title. And in fact, if you go to the lyrics on the Bride Pub site, you're going to see both titles here. You're going to see In One Life, and then parentheses, I think it says In What Life. Technically, the song's proper title is In What Life? That's what the lyrics say here, and I've talked with Dale Thompson about that and checked. Yes, that is more apropos as the title, but like I said, In One Life was the working title for it. This is simply one of my favorites on the album. This has such a great melody in it, and during the verses, the music is lilting, and it features Troy playing some violin. It sounds beautiful. Dale belts out the chorus, and the song goes on through several different musical passages that just add to the greatness of this track. It's almost like they brought in a little bit of prog type changing of different musical elements, kind of using like prog changes into different musical directions and stuff throughout a song. This song kind of has all of that going on into it. And it just adds to the greatness of this track. This is high caliber musicianship and conviction filled vocals. And what a way to end the first half of this double CD with such a strong ending track. Like I said, absolutely one of my favorite tracks on this first disc. Okay, let's move over now to disc 2. Disc 2, called the Shadows disc, opens up with What You Doing Out There. And this opens up with some rhythmic drumming. This song features some strong riffing augmented by more of that wah-wah guitar riffing. Some great guitar solos fill in here as well. There's some well-crafted lyrics here by Dale again here. All can change in the blink of an eye, day and night as the world turns. Are you ready for the end? Will you be ready for the burn? And again, these disc 2 seems to hearken a little bit more back to that classic Snakes in the Playground sound. You'll see that in this second disc here, and especially on the next track called Higher. This has some kind of Aerosmith type riffing that opens it up. Dale singing with allusions to the 3 men in the fire in the book of Daniel. And it's like I said, this song, I would say, sounds like it would fit very well into the Snakes in the Playground album. It rocks hard. It has some of Dale's most passionate singing in it. You'd almost think that you're listening to an outtake from the Snakes in the Playground album. There's so much energy blasting out of the speakers for this one. More inventive lyrics by Dale as he sings, "How many mistakes before we learn, swallow the poison, Jesus is the cure." This is followed by a song called "Live in Love." This opens up with this slamming bass riff. It's another track that sounds like a Snake's Error style track. There's some high energy riffing on this one, but also the track is infused with some musical brushstrokes, like Troy adding in some violin playing into it. There's like a fuzzy bass backing up there, and some drums that will beat you over the head here. The song is like a train running full speed on the tracks. Just an absolutely great song. This is followed by "Deliver Us from Evil." This one begins with the drums crashing in as Dale uses almost like a death metal type voice in the intro before he goes into his trademark singing. This one has those sledgehammer riffs again by Troy as it builds up to the chorus. Troy has an extended guitar solo on this one. Another powerful message conveyed in the chorus: "Deliver us from evil. Are you battle ready for the wartime? Deliver us from evil. Hard to find faith in humankind." Next one is a song called "Can You Stoke the Fire?" The riff on this one fades in, and it is a crunchy one. When Dale starts singing, he kind of sings in that kind of rap type style in this one. It's another barn burner of a song, has a lot more of that diverse musical passages that keep the song interesting from start to finish. And that's one of the great things about this album. There's just so many different musical atmospheric parts that add into these songs that just keep them interesting and just add to the enjoyment of it. This is followed by a song called "Rescue Me." This starts again with a furious bass line and some atmospheric guitar fills. The keyboards are added on this track by Juan Carlos, and it gives the song this kind of extra push that fills it with this almost gothic feel. The bass really drives the song. Troy adds this great riff that heralds in the chorus, and around the 2-minute mark, there's another funky guitar part that before it drives into this fantastic instrumental section on here. This is another song that keeps the music moving in a multitude of dimensions, keeping it compelling. Dale layers his vocals to great effect on this one, and the drums beat the song into a pulp. Now, the next song after this is "Tried So Hard." This is kind of Disc 2's ballad song, although it doesn't stay in the ballad mode for very long. It features some nice acoustic strumming from Troy with a beautiful swaying melody augmented by I believe it's the cello on this one, but it doesn't stay in that battle territory, like I said, but it ends up building itself up into this rocking gallop. Dale again layers his vocals to good effect here as he sings with conviction. Some other strong lyrics here. He says, "I've given all I have, is it ever enough?" Underscoring his devotion to his fan base, to bring his faith-filled lyrics, and to keep working for the Lord, delivering music. Dale again is layering his vocals here to good effect, and he keeps himself busy. When you think about those lyrics that I just read, "I've given all I have, is it ever enough?" It's almost like he's asking the question to himself. Is it never enough? Is it time for me to retire, or do I still have this vibrancy? And is it ever enough for fans wanting more, maybe as well? I don't know. I think it can be taken both ways. But when you think about Dale Thompson, he's one of the busiest men in Christian rock music, not only with his work with Bride, but he's involved vocally in a lot of other projects. The World Will Burn, Digital Kill, Ordained. So this man is his vocals show up in a lot of different places. And that's just to name a few of the things that he's been involved with. This is a song that segues into this interesting musical breakdown around the 2-minute mark, where Troy plays some mandolin, I believe, here, before it builds into this rocking rhythm. And it ends very quietly with Dale singing as if he's singing like through an echo chamber on here. Very, very interesting song. Like I said, the musical diversity on here and the interest of the songs going up and down. It's like I said, it's almost like a prog influence in the sense, not prog rock, but it's taking that element in prog where you go through all these different musical passages here. So just great, and it really keeps the interest level really strong here. Next song is Name of the Game. This is another fast-paced rocker with Alexandre pounding the skins. The song features some melodic guitar fills that sound like Sweet and Fox of Striper's of Striper fame. It's like their style. It's almost like this song is almost like a tribute to Striper in a way, in that it just has that kind of Striper songwriting structure to it, and guitar riffs and all that stuff. And I guess, again, this is a song that where Dale's standing firm in his faith. The chorus also, I think, borrows a page from the Striper songbook, with Dale using harmony vocals as well as he sings some to glory and some to shame. That's the name of the game. Guitar soloing, again, the Striper connection sounds there. And the song, like I said, it's almost like a tribute to Striper by borrowing some of Striper's many musical motifs, but still remaining with the Bride stamp on it. So this is not like a Striper clone song. This is a song that will remind you of Striper, but it's still very much quintessential Bride. All right, this is followed by Tried It on the Outside. This opens up with a fading in of some acoustic guitar riffing, almost harkening back to the Kinetic Faith sound of the band. That's what I was thinking of when I heard it. Then the song stops, and this bass line underscores Dale's singing as the acoustic guitar is added in. This is another one that has a very infectious chorus line in it, as Troy playing the violin on this. Again, I just love the infusion of the violin in there. I just love that instrument. You know, I'm a huge Kansas fan, and I always loved that violin of Robbie Steinhardt in the albums and stuff. And I think when you bring this classical instrument into rock music, it just adds this other element to it that's just so beautiful. And another nice guitar solo is on here as well. And again, some more inventive lyrics by Dale. Everybody give it to the Savior, come on. Tried it on the outside, ain't what you need, got to put it inside to be free. Really, really creative way of saying, you tried it on the outside without Christ, you got to get on the inside, the inner circle with Christ to truly be free. So freedom can only be found in Christ. It's not going to be found in the world. It's not going to be found in worldly pursuits. It's going to be found only in the matchless name of Jesus Christ. So really strong message in this one here. Then All of My Life ends disc 2. And again, one of my favorite songs on the album, one of the highlights on the album. This opens up with some Led Zeppelin styled acoustic guitars, some beautiful violin accents from Troy that are hauntingly beautiful. And the song closing out the second disc, like I said, 20th song in, and they're ending on such a strong note. Is, like I said, one of my absolute favorites here. You may think, 20th song of the album, maybe the song's gonna, it's not gonna be anything, that great, because you might think they've gone south at this point. They're not continuing to keep up this strength, but that's not the case at all. The band is firing at all cylinders right to the end. And again, this song has some great guitar soloing from Troy and some outstanding singing from Dale as he sings, I'm a scarecrow in the field, birds tear me apart. And then he declares in the chorus, I just want to live. What a great song. What a great ending to a great album. 20 songs, and it keeps the interest level throughout all 20 songs. And you know how double albums are. They're very hard to sustain interest. There's some great double albums in rock music. You might think of albums like Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, often cited as a lot of fans' favorite album. I think it's my favorite Led Zeppelin album as well. But it's not easy to sustain interest with that many songs. Some people might say, you should just break it down into, the best of the 20 songs. But really, this album works as a whole, and it's great. All 20 songs are necessary to get across the whole Vipers and Shadows thematic elements there, and just the messages there. And like I said, they keep the songs interesting with these different different musical passages, these interesting instruments that Troy is bringing in here, solid bass and drums throughout that anchor the whole thing. And Dale, who has lost none of his edge, he's still singing with power. He can still hit those high notes. He can still do those screams. It's amazing. For over 40 years later, still sounding great. So I think overall, this is an incredible achievement for Bride in their long storied career, that they could make such a hard hitting, relevant album that I believe is one of their, has become or will become or maybe looked upon as one of their finest in their catalogs. This is definitely an add to my favorite albums of the year for 2025. So if you have not explored this album yet, I would say go check it out on CD. My overall rating for the album is 4.5 stars out of 5. I just think this is a spectacular album. And if you are patient and want to wait a little bit longer, if you haven't heard it yet, of course it is available for streaming, so you could listen to all the songs via streaming. But there is a vinyl version of this spectacular album that's now available on pre-order from Retroactive Records. I had the pleasure of working on this album as the copy editor, and this is a double vinyl, colored vinyl release, and it's going to feature all the lyrics in there. And I proofed this one extremely closely to the lyrics to verify that the lyrics are all correct and in order. And there were some things that I found that Dale was singing that weren't necessarily listed on the lyrics on the website. So I contacted Dale Thompson himself and verified some lyrics that I knew were there that were not listed on the website, and I enlisted his help to get that. So you're going to be able to sit down with this album, or you can have the CD version, play the CD version and pull out the vinyl sleeve and follow along that way. But you're going to have all the lyrics to all these great songs, and you're going to be able to appreciate even more fully the lyrical craft of Dale Thompson on these albums. So I'm going to leave the link below for the vinyl version, but I can tell you right now, if you want it, pre-order it now, because this is going to be a sellout. That's my prediction. I think this is going to be a sellout on Retroactive Records to get this great album on a vinyl version. So that's my review. Let me know what you think in the comments about this album. I know there's been a lot of reviews about it, and every review that I've watched about it has been glowing for it as well. I think it's a fantastic album, and like I said, Bride charging back 2025 with this great double album. Like I said before, I think one of their finest in their catalogs. And normally you say, well, got a few years have to go by before I can make that kind of a judgment. But I'm making that judgment right now as a long time Bride fan who has their entire discography pretty much. I'm missing a couple things there. I don't have their bluegrass gospel or their Christmas one, but believe me, they're on my list. I will get them. And there's a lot of other various releases that are out there, some live stuff and some compilations and stuff like that. But in terms of the 18 studio albums that they've released, just a great catalog of music and consistent. And like I said, just a great band. And I encourage you, go out, listen to this. If you're not sure, you want to plunk the money down to buy the CD or pay for the vinyl before you've heard it, go listen to it on streaming. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And again, this is an album. Listen to it multiple times before you come to the conclusion. Like I said, it's got a lot of layers of musical depth to it, and it's just these are songs that are going to stick in your head. They're very catchy riffs, they're very catchy vocals, and it just a solid package overall. So again, let me know what you think in the comments, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this album, or let's talk about Bride in general if you want. I'll probably do something on Bride in the future, maybe a discography ranking. They're coming on the channel. I haven't started them yet, any ranking of discographies of artists, but they'll be coming in the channel soon. They just take a lot of time to put together because I want to do the discography justice and make sure I've listened to everything fully and got my thoughts on it before I do a ranking of my favorites here. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that album review. And as always, I encourage you to follow the light that shines out of the darkness. God bless everyone.